The secret to calming your busy mind. In today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, it's no surprise that so many of us feel like our minds are constantly running, racing from one thought to the next, juggling endless to-do lists, worries about the future, and regrets from the past. It's as if our brains have forgotten how to rest. The truth is, our minds are not broken. They're overwhelmed. We live in a time where information never stops. We are bombarded with notifications, emails, social media updates, news headlines, responsibilities and pressures to succeed, to be perfect, to always be on. As a result, our thoughts spin like a wheel that never stops turning. Even in quiet moments, our minds often feel loud, thinking about what we should have said, what might go wrong, what we need to fix, or how we compare to others. It's exhausting. And yet, we've come to accept this mental noise as normal, but it's not. A constantly busy mind is not a sign of productivity. It's often a sign of mental burnout, emotional overload, and unprocessed tension within us. The reason our minds feel so busy isn't just about external demands. It's also about what's happening inside. When we carry unresolved emotions like fear, guilt, or sadness, or when we feel disconnected from our deeper selves, our minds try to make sense of that discomfort by thinking harder, longer, and faster. We become addicted to thinking, mistaking it for control. But the more we think, the less we feel. And the less we feel, the more lost we become in the chatter of our own minds. This cycle of overthinking, emotional suppression, and constant stimulation creates a state of inner chaos where we no longer feel grounded. We forget what it's like to truly be present, to breathe deeply, to feel calm, to simply be. That's why calming your mind isn't just a luxury. It's a necessity for your well-being. It's not about shutting off your thoughts or escaping reality. It's about learning to gently slow down the mental storm and reconnect with the peaceful core that already exists within you. Because beneath all the noise, your mind is not your enemy. It's simply trying to protect you the best way it knows how. And with awareness, compassion, and a few simple shifts, you can begin to quiet the noise, soften the tension, and create space for clarity, peace, and healing to return. Chapter 1. The Nature of a Busy Mind. To truly calm a busy mind, we must first understand its nature, what it is, how it works, and why it becomes so restless. The mind is a brilliant and powerful tool, constantly thinking, analyzing, solving, remembering, and imagining. It's built to scan for danger, solve problems, and help us survive. But in the modern world, this natural function often works against us. Our minds aren't just solving real-life problems anymore. They're spinning through imagined ones, rehashing conversations, worrying about things that haven't happened, and clinging to thoughts that repeat like broken records. A busy mind isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that your brain is doing what it was designed to do, only without enough balance, rest, or direction. In today's world, where silence is rare and distractions are constant, our minds are overstimulated and undernourished. We're exposed to a never-ending stream of information, opinions, comparisons, and choices. And when the mind never gets a chance to pause, It doesn't calm down. It gets louder. It fills in the stillness with noise. This is the very nature of a busy mind. It wants certainty, control, and answers, so it spins endlessly trying to find them. But here's the deeper truth. The busy mind is not your enemy. It's your protector. It's often trying to keep you safe, avoid pain, or prepare you for the worst. When you're anxious, it runs ahead to imagine every possible outcome. When you're hurt, it replays the moment trying to make sense of what happened. When you're uncertain, it scrambles for clarity so you don't feel lost. It thinks over and over because it doesn't want you to be caught off guard or make a mistake. The mind believes that thinking more will bring peace. But ironically, thinking more often creates more anxiety, not less. The key is to understand that you don't have to turn off your mind to feel calm. You just have to stop believing every thought it throws at you. You can observe it without getting tangled in it. You can learn to create space between you and your thoughts. That space is where peace begins. The busy mind may always try to do its job, but you don't have to be controlled by it. When you understand its nature with kindness and awareness, you begin to shift the relationship from one of chaos to calm, from control to compassion. And in that space, you'll find that your mind doesn't need to be silenced. It just needs to feel safe. Chapter 2. The Trap of Overthinking. Overthinking is one of the biggest traps of the busy mind, a mental habit that feels productive but quietly drains your energy, clarity, and emotional peace. It often starts innocently enough, replaying a conversation, analyzing a decision, trying to plan for what might happen. But soon, your thoughts spiral. You begin imagining worst-case scenarios, doubting yourself, obsessing over what others might think, and asking, "What if?" again and again. What makes overthinking so dangerous is that it gives you the illusion of control, as if by thinking hard enough you can prevent pain, guarantee success, or finally feel certain. But the truth is, the more you overthink, the more anxious and stuck you feel. It becomes a loop with no exit, where every new thought adds more pressure, more confusion, and more self-doubt. Instead of helping you solve problems, overthinking often creates problems that weren't even there in the first place. It steals your ability to be present, to trust your instincts, and to take simple, grounded action. Overthinking also disconnects you from your emotions. You get stuck in your head, trying to think your way out of feelings you actually need to feel. For example, instead of allowing yourself to feel sadness or fear, you might overanalyze the situation in hopes of controlling it. But emotions aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be felt and released. When you overthink, you push your feelings aside and replace them with endless mental chatter, which only deepens the sense of overwhelm and internal chaos. The trap of overthinking lies in its disguise. It feels like you're doing something useful when in fact you're just circling the same thoughts without resolution. To escape this trap, you must learn to interrupt the loop with awareness. Notice when your thoughts are going in circles and gently bring yourself back to the present. Ground yourself in your body. Breathe deeply. Take a walk, journal, or say out loud, "This is just a thought," not the truth. You don't need to think your way through everything. Sometimes the most powerful move is to pause, feel, and simply let go. Overthinking doesn't lead to clarity, stillness does. And the more you trust that calm action and gentle presence are enough, the more freedom you'll find from the mental noise that once held you captive. Chapter 3: Awareness, the first step toward calm. Before you can calm your busy mind, you must first become aware of it, not just intellectually, but emotionally and physically. Awareness is the gateway to change, the moment when you pause and realize, I am not my thoughts. I am the one noticing them. This simple shift, becoming the observer instead of the prisoner of your thoughts, marks the beginning of true inner calm. Most of us live in our heads without realizing it. We get swept away by our mental chatter, reacting to every anxious thought, judgment, memory, or worry as if it's absolute truth. But when you bring awareness to your inner world, when you notice your thoughts without immediately believing or acting on them, you create space. And in that space, calm can begin to grow. You start to see patterns, how you ruminate when you're tired, how your thoughts speed up when you're anxious, how certain environments or people trigger your mind into overdrive. Awareness allows you to step out of autopilot and into choice. This kind of awareness is not harsh or critical. It's gentle, curious, and non-judgmental. It's not about forcing your mind to be quiet, but simply noticing when it gets loud. It might sound like, I notice I'm spinning in fear right now, or my mind is trying to fix something that hasn't even happened. That alone is powerful. It helps you shift from being in the thought to being with the thought, from drowning in it to holding it gently. And the more often you do this, the more strength you build in your ability to return to the present moment. Awareness also reconnects you to your body, your breath, and your heart. Things that exist here and now, not in the past or future where your busy mind likes to live. Through awareness, you begin to respond instead of react, to breathe instead of brace, and to witness your experience with kindness instead of judgment. This doesn't mean your mind will stop being busy overnight, but it does mean that you'll no longer be at its mercy. You'll become someone who can notice the storm without being swept away. And that truly is where lasting peace begins. Chapter 4: Breath and Body, Reconnecting with the Present. One of the most powerful and often overlooked ways to calm a busy mind is by returning to the breath and body, your most reliable anchors to the present moment. When your mind is spinning with anxious thoughts, regrets from the past, or fears about the future, your body is still here, grounded in the now, and your breath, steady and rhythmic, becomes a natural tool to guide you back when everything inside feels chaotic. We often treat the mind and body as separate, but they are deeply connected. A tense mind creates a tense body. Tight shoulders, clenched jaws, shallow breathing. But it also works in reverse. A relaxed body can signal safety to the mind, helping it slow down. That's why reconnecting with your physical self, is so essential in moments of mental overwhelm. When you intentionally breathe deeply, stretch, move, or even just place your hand on your heart, you're not just soothing your body, you're sending your brain the message. You are safe. You don't need to keep spinning. This reconnection doesn't require hours of meditation or a perfect yoga routine. It begins with small, conscious actions, taking slow, full breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural calming response. Placing both feet firmly on the ground and feeling their weight reminds you that you are supported. Doing a body scan, where you gently notice where tension lives and breathe into those spaces, brings you back into your own skin. Even simple movements, walking, stretching, swaying, can help release built-up stress and quiet the racing thoughts. Your body is wise. It carries emotional truths your mind may be trying to overthink away. When you reconnect with your breath and body, you shift from mental chaos to embodied presence, from frantic thinking to quiet being. And in that state, the mind no longer needs to solve everything. It can simply rest. Reconnecting with your body is not about escaping your thoughts, but about creating a space big enough for those thoughts to soften and settle. In that space, you'll rediscover what stillness feels like, not as an absence of thought, but as the peaceful awareness that you are already here, already whole, already safe. Chapter 5. Letting Go of Control. One of the greatest sources of mental exhaustion is the constant, unrelenting attempt to control everything: our future, how others see us, how situations unfold, and even how we feel. The busy mind thrives on this illusion. If I just think hard enough, plan long enough, or worry deeply enough, I can prevent pain and avoid failure. But the truth is, no amount of mental effort can give us total control. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. People change, plans fall apart, emotions come and go, and the unexpected arrives without warning. The more we try to micromanage every outcome, the more anxious, rigid, and overwhelmed we become. We turn simple problems into crises. We miss the beauty of the present moment, and we exhaust ourselves in the name of certainty. Letting go of control isn't about giving up. It's about surrendering the need to control what cannot be controlled and learning to trust yourself to handle whatever life brings. Letting go requires a shift from fear to faith, not necessarily religious faith, but faith in your own strength, in the wisdom of timing, and in the idea that you don't need all the answers right now to move forward. It means acknowledging that you cannot predict every outcome, nor do you need to. It means understanding that peace doesn't come from perfect plans, but from inner flexibility, from knowing you'll adapt, respond, and grow no matter what happens. When you let go of control, you create space in your mind and heart. You stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. This doesn't mean you stop caring or trying. It means you learn to release the grip when it's time. You set boundaries without clinging. You take action without obsessing over results. You trust the process even when it's uncertain. Your mind softens because it no longer believes it must hold everything together. And in that softening, you discover a deeper kind of strength, one rooted not in domination, but in surrender. That's the true secret to calming your mind, realizing that peace was never about having control. It was always about learning how to let go and still stand strong. Chapter 6. Writing it out, giving thoughts a place to go. When your mind feels like it's spinning with 100 thoughts at once, worries, plans, regrets, doubts, memories, one of the simplest yet most powerful things you can do is write them down. Writing is not just a creative activity, it is a form of release, a way of clearing space in your mental landscape and turning chaotic thoughts into something visible and manageable. The truth is, many of our thoughts don't need to stay inside us. They just need a place to go. And when you write, you give those thoughts a safe container. You take them out of your swirling mind and lay them gently onto the page. This process alone can bring enormous relief. It's like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. Suddenly, what felt overwhelming becomes clearer. You begin to see patterns in your thinking. You recognize fears that have been silently shaping your choices. You give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling without judgment. And most importantly, you start to regain control. Not by forcing your thoughts to stop, but by letting them flow out of you in a healthy, intentional way. Journaling is a conversation with your deeper self. It doesn't have to be poetic or perfect. It just has to be honest. You can start by asking, "What's weighing on me right now?" Or, "What am I afraid of?" Or simply let your hand move across the page without censoring anything. The point isn't to solve everything, but to express what your mind has been trying to carry alone. In doing so, you shift from mental rumination to emotional processing. Writing also gives you perspective. You might see, written in black and white, that many of your fears are exaggerated, or that your inner critic is louder than the truth. Over time, journaling can become a tool not only for emotional release, but for self-understanding and healing. It's where your thoughts slow down, your mind breathes, and your inner world becomes less tangled. So the next time your thoughts are racing, pick up a pen. Give your mind a break by letting the page hold what you no longer need to. Because sometimes the path to peace doesn't begin in your head, it begins in your hand. Chapter 7. Movement and Stillness. A busy mind often feels like a storm, loud, restless, scattered. And while we often try to quiet it through thinking or reasoning, one of the most powerful ways to bring calm is through a balance of movement and stillness. Both are essential to our inner peace, and each offers a different kind of healing. Movement, whether it's walking, stretching, dancing, yoga, or even cleaning, allows the mind to release pent-up energy. When your thoughts are spiraling, your body is usually holding that tension too. Clenched jaws, tight shoulders, a racing heart. Physical movement helps to release emotional pressure, process stress, and shift your nervous system out of fight or flight. It's not about fitness, it's about flow. As your body moves, your thoughts begin to slow, your breath deepens, and you create space for clarity to return. It's a reminder that your body can lead your mind back into balance when the mental noise feels too loud to quiet from the inside out. Stillness, on the other hand, is where you learn to rest in awareness. In stillness, you are not escaping your thoughts. You are watching them without attachment. Whether through meditation, quiet breathing, lying in silence, or simply sitting with a cup of tea while doing nothing else, stillness invites you to come home to yourself. It teaches you that you do not need to fix every thought or solve every emotion. You can simply be present with them. This may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to busyness as a distraction, but stillness reveals the peace that was buried beneath all the noise. When you combine both movement and stillness in your life, you create a rhythm that mirrors nature itself. Ebb and flow, activity and rest, expression and reflection. You give yourself permission to move when you need to release and to be still when you need to listen. And over time, your mind learns that it doesn't always need to run ahead or dwell behind. It can simply be here, grounded in the moment, supported by the body, and gently held by the silence that is always waiting underneath the storm. Chapter 8. Self-compassion over self-criticism. One of the most important and most healing shifts you can make in calming a busy mind is learning to choose self-compassion over self-criticism. So often, when our thoughts become loud and overwhelming, we don't just suffer from anxiety or stress. We also beat ourselves up for feeling that way. We think, why can't I just stop worrying? Or, what's wrong with me? Or, I should be stronger than this. This inner voice, often harsh and unforgiving, only adds more pressure to an already overwhelmed mind. But here's the truth. You cannot shame yourself into peace. You cannot bully your mind into silence. Criticism may push you to perform, but compassion invites you to heal. And healing is what your busy mind truly needs. Self-compassion means meeting yourself, especially in your most anxious, confused, or tired moments, with kindness rather than blame. It's saying, it makes sense that I'm feeling this way. I'm doing the best I can. It's not weakness. It's emotional strength in its most tender form. When you practice self-compassion, you begin to see your thoughts not as flaws to fix, but as signals. Messages from a part of you that is hurting, scared, or longing to be heard. Instead of trying to silence or fight your busy mind, you begin to listen with gentleness, asking, what do I really need right now? You stop punishing yourself for being human and start supporting yourself the way you would support someone you love. And that changes everything. The mental storms become less frightening because you're no longer battling them alone. You're comforting yourself through them. Self-compassion also helps you recover more quickly when you stumble. Instead of spiraling into guilt or perfectionism, you learn to reset with grace. It's okay. I can try again. This approach softens your inner world, calms the nervous system, and allows your mind to gradually quiet, not because you forced it, but because you nurtured it. In a world that constantly pressures you to be better, faster, and stronger, choosing self-compassion is a radical act of inner peace. And in that gentle space, your busy mind learns something profound. that it's safe to slow down, to make mistakes, to rest, that it's safe to simply be. Conclusion: you are not your thoughts. As we close this journey, hold on to one liberating truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the vast, steady awareness beneath them. Your mind is brilliant at generating stories, warnings, memories, and plans, but those mental creations are like clouds, passing across a limitless sky. Some clouds are bright and uplifting, others dark and heavy, yet none of them define the sky itself, and none of your thoughts define the essence of who you are. When you forget this, you get swept into every anxious prediction, self-critical whisper, and looping "what if," believing each one is an instruction you must obey. But when you remember that thoughts are simply mental events, signals, not commands, you reclaim the choice to respond with curiosity instead of fear, self-compassion instead of judgment, and calm, grounded action instead of frantic rumination. Practicing the tools we explored: awareness, breath, writing, balanced movement and stillness, gentle self-talk, and the courageous act of letting go, teaches your nervous system a new rhythm: less fight or flight, more rest and receive. Over time, this rhythm becomes your inner soundtrack, and moments of peace grow longer and more frequent. Yes, the mind will still think. That is its nature. Yet you will meet those thoughts from the spacious perspective of the sky, not the cramped turbulence of the cloud. In that space, clarity dawns, creativity blossoms, and a soft but unshakable trust arises. I can handle what comes, because I am larger than my worries. This is the ultimate secret to calming a busy mind, not silencing it forever, but learning to witness its chatter from the solid ground of your own presence and compassion. And every time you remember that, you return home to yourself, quiet, whole, and free.